So how can we make assessments more productive? Right? You understand the goal of them. I hope you understand better how important the cans is and how important it is that you stay engaged and participate in that process. I'm going to talk a little bit about how we can make assessments better. And then later on in our second session, I'll talk about how to make that reassessment better. And we'll revisit some of these things we've talked about this morning. All right. First of all, and some of these may be obvious to you, take time to prepare. Many people have already mentioned how traumatic assessments can be. Okay, telling your story is traumatic. Telling your story more than one time is re-traumatizing, right? Not just for your child, but for you. Okay, so it's important to take time to prepare. It's hard as a person who's done assessments, it's hard not to understand the traumatic aspects of your story. Those aspects are important for us to understand. It's on us, however, to make sure that we have you tell us those pieces in a way that is supportive and doesn't re-traumatize you. Okay, so taking time to prepare is really important. Think about what's easy for you to share. And also think about what makes you feel more vulnerable and emotional when you try to share it. Because as a psychologist, I don't want you to push yourself to share something that later on, after you leave my office, makes you fall apart. That's not okay, right? I want you to share what you can share. If we need to come back and talk later because now you're ready to share more, that's fine, right? So take some time to prepare. What can you say in front of your child, or what can't you? And it's okay to not share everything in front of your child, nor should we ask you to. And if you're a young person, right, what can you share in front of your parent or your caregiver, and what don't you want to share? That's okay too. If you can't tell parts of the story that are important, let's figure out who can share that part of the story. If it's written down, let's try to share that if we can get a hold of it, right? If it's another person who's holding that story, let's try to make sure that they can find a way to share that with the assessor. And also take time to identify signals to indicate when you need a break or you need some support. It's okay to take breaks. Again, I know it feels like if you don't do this right, you're not going to get help, right? But if you get traumatized in the process, that's not helpful either. So this is supposed to be a collaborative process, remember? So if you need to take a break, it's okay to take a break, and you can ask to take a break. All right. So that's the first thing I want to say. Take the time to really prepare yourself and your young person. There's a tool that you have that could help you, right? The Yes Family Workbook is really helpful. The first 6 pages, I think, are very focused on helping you prepare for assessment. I would take some time if you're going to do this to fill this out. And you don't have to write you can just write notes, you can write an outline, you can write bullet points, whatever. The process of you going through those sections in this workbooks, and thank you for all of you who helped make this possible. This will help you prepare. Okay. And, you know, we mentioned bringing along documents that you have available to you to your assessment, right? Ask the assessor if they can help you get documents that you yourself can't seem to get, because they might be able to. You know, as a psychologist, sometimes I can request for information and people will share it to me that they won't share with parents. Why that is a different topic, but sometimes it can help. Now, what's not in the workbook, however, is the stuff around you as a parent and where you struggle in parenting your child. And that's important to think through, right? Those are the things that are captured in the caregiver section of the CANs. It's important for us to know that because we need to know how to support you. Because working with children, as I said earlier, means working with their family, right? It's very rare for it to be fix the child and everything will be okay. It's very rare. It happens, but it's very rare. It's more likely that the child needs support and you need support too, so you can support your child because you're with your child way more times than any provider is. Okay. Some specific notes to you all, right? And I mean this from all my years of experience. You're a support, a resource, and a very special collaborator in this process of care for your child. And it's easy to feel blamed and responsible. And it's easy to feel defensive and helpless when questions are asked of you. And those are all normal things to experience. I experienced them too when we were getting help for my son's needs, right? And I'm a psychologist, right? And that's part of the process. Really good assessors and clinicians are trained to know when they need to provide you support, give you breaks, help you through that process. That's our job, right? And as a reminder, it's okay to have different needs and strengths as a parent relative to each of your children. I mentioned this earlier. That's perfectly fine, right? And we need to understand what it is for the child that you're trying to get help for, right? What is it like for you to parent that child? Where do you need support, right? And young people benefit, their treatment benefits when we can provide you the support that you need as well. Take some time to reflect on your parenting. What's your relationship like with your child? How does your child's challenges impact your relationship with them? Right? It happens. When my child was in his worst ADD moments, right? I swear that I was going to burst the blood vessel at the top of my head because I was so angry all the time, not sometimes at him, a lot at me, a lot at the situation, just furious, right? Did that impact my relationship with my child? You bet it did, right? Not in a good way, right? What are your strengths in parenting your child? What are the areas that are harder for you with your child, right? Do you have any personal challenges that make it difficult for you to parent your child? Another way to say this, is your child triggering you? It's not uncommon. Are they triggering you? What can you do when they trigger you, right? Because the worst thing to happen is to get lost in being triggered and you're no longer parenting your child and you're no longer taking care of yourself, right? What supports do you currently have and what supports do you need? The other thing that part of preparation is preparing your child, right? And you need to tell them there's nothing wrong with getting help, but it's really hard to do. And our culture does not getting help for mental health reasons easy. It's gotten better, right? There are a lot of actors, singers, celebrities who are open about their mental health struggles and encourage people to get help, right? But still, it's not as easy as breaking your leg and getting help for that, right? It's hard. There's stigma around mental health in our culture, right? So it's important to spend some time preparing them. And also as a parent, being ready for the roller coaster that you're going to go through with them, wanting to get help, not wanting to get help, thinking it's stupid, you know, being mad at you that you didn't get them help sooner, all that stuff that happens around them struggling with getting help, right? remind them that they can take time telling their story, right? They can ask for breaks also, right? They can try to be as honest as they can be, but when they don't trust the stranger they're sitting with, they're not going to say much, and that's okay. Right? The cans, actually, we recognize that gathering information is an iterative process. It takes time. The more accurate the cans is, the more likely that you and your child trust the person who is actually completing the cans. Right? The less you trust them, the less accurate that cans is going to be. And we know that, right? It's about building a relationship and trusting, right? And if you think about, for a lot of the mental health issues that are more psychological and social in nature, not neurodevelopmental, right? A lot of the things that you get help for are because of relationships gone bad. So trying to tell a stranger about what's happening can be really hard. Sit with your young person and come up with a list of questions they want to ask the assessor about the process, about what happens with the information, who they talk to, why they need stuff, just whatever question they have. There's no dumb question, right? Because you want them to feel comfortable and participating in a process that is theirs, not being done to them, but being done alongside them, with them, right? It's a mutual discovery process. Some things are going to be hard for them to talk about in front of you, right? And you got to let that be and let them have that conversation. It's really important that they, and I usually bring this up when I'm assessing a young person or talking to them about therapy, right? To ask questions about what's the difference between privacy and confidentiality. It's a really important distinction between privacy, what therapists can keep private, and what they can keep confidential, because they're different. Because this will help your teens feel like they can talk in therapy if they can understand those differences. Okay.